Hello everybody and welcome back to Championship Predictions. And firstly, I just want to say sorry I couldn't get out the midweek Championship predictions for the week just gone by. Unfortunately, things just really worked against me from a time point of view, so I do apologise for that. And guys, obviously, if you watch me before, you know, I usually have a green screen up. I think just because of the time of night I'm recording this, I can't seem to get the lighting to work properly without it flickering all over the place. So look, you probably don't care. It probably doesn't matter. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm just going to jump straight into these Championship predictions and start off with Saints who take on Blues. And I want to start off with Blues, actually. I want to speak about Birmingham because obviously they've brought Wayne Rooney in. And so far, it's not gone too well for them, has it? Or not gone too well for Rooney. 2 losses back to back. And he'll be really wanting to try and change that. It's not going to be easy against Saints. If I'm trying to pull out a bit of a positive for Rooney at the moment, it is the fact that he did say he wanted his team to be more attacking, take more shots. And in all fairness, although they did lose, they did have 14 shots in midweek. But so far, they've had less possession in both games. And the main thing that does really matter is they've lost both as well. So when you have a manager that a lot of the fans didn't really want to leave, Rooney needs to start doing something, doesn't he? He needs to start trying to get a result. And it's not going to be easy against a Saints team who I think will be a bit buzzing after this. As I say, I'm recording this on Wednesday night. They've got a very, very late draw. They're obviously leading the game at one point as well against Preston. And you do just think they're probably going to be a little bit fired up and really wanting to go at Blues. And I do think Saints will get this. So I'm going to go Saints 2, Blues 0, sadly. Let's move on to speaking about Leeds versus Huddersfield. And of course, this is a derby, isn't it? It's a big game. Leeds taking on Huddersfield. And I do worry for Huddersfield in this one, guys. I'm just going to be frank. Absolutely pumped by Cardiff in midweek. And obviously, you look at the game that they even won. You'd argue that they just didn't play too well in that last week. So, you know, I just worry again coming up against the Leeds team who will probably want some retribution anyway after their midweek result. Of course, Stoke did get the win over them. And with it being at Ellen Road, I'm sure that crowd are going to be pumping up an atmosphere and make it rocking. And I think for that reason, I'm not going to waste too much more time on this one, guys. I think Leeds are going to win. I'm going to go Leeds 3. I'll give Huddersfield a goal. Huddersfield Town 1. Let's move on and speak about Hull versus Preston. And these are 2 clubs that I'd say a lot of people have had their eye on just because of the potential of what they could do. And obviously, Preston were the team that started the season very, very well. Of course, in their midweek game, they were down at half-time, pulled it back to 2-1. And I did sit there at half-time and I was a bit like, what has happened to Preston? Because it wasn't long ago, Preston fans, you know, were absolutely buzzing, top of the table. I remember, you know, TalkSport did a segment on them one of the evenings when Preston were top. And a lot of their fans were calling up and they felt confident. And you couldn't blame them for doing so. But they look such a different team in comparison to how they started out the season. You do just scratch your head going, what really has gone wrong? Another team that's starting to look slightly different is Hull City. And I keep backing them as a team to watch out for. And I'm going to maintain that. I think they're now up to 8th after their midweek win. And you look at their front three, obviously Liam Delap, Phalange and Twine. That front three for me is a very lethal front three. I think I pronounced the middle one name wrong, I'll be honest with you. But what I'm trying to get across is that's a very good front three at this level. And I do think they're going to push for the playoffs this season. This is a hard one to call, but I've just got to back Hull at the moment. I don't know what has happened to Preston, so I'm going to go Hull 2, Preston 0. Let's move on speaking about Sunderland next, who take on Norwich. And of course, Norwich, never a problem, is it, with goals? Jonathan Rowe getting his 7th goal of the season. Sarah has 4 goals and 5 assists in this campaign. They've got a lot to say for when it comes to the attacking. Problem is the defensive, and it's something I keep having to talk about every week. It must be kind of fun and frustrating at the same time to turn up as a Norwich fan, because you turn up and some weeks you're like, yes, we're going to score. Maybe we'll score 3, maybe we'll score 4, but then you've got the problem that you might concede as well, and it's just the inconsistency. Sunderland, obviously a team that, look good, but back-to-back losses now against Leicester and Stoke. And it's interesting, I was reading an article about them. 4 attacking signings they made in the summer. And the article said that not one of them has scored so far, which is really interesting, and it maybe just shows that, look, there's a lot to be good about Sunderland, but maybe the signings that they did make, especially in an attacking position, haven't paid off so far. It'd be interesting to see if they do play out throughout the course of the season, because I do think Sunderland made signings that were from other leagues. So there's always that kind of period, especially with the Championship, it's quite a physical league where it's going to take some time to adapt to it. But in this game, no surprise, I think there's going to be goals. I think this will be 2 teams that go at each other, and it is going to be my first draw call. I am going to go 2-2 in this one. Hi guys, very quick one from me before we get back to the video. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. The YouTube algorithm really works against us with these videos. We have a good watch time, good engagement, and, really good average watch time too, which is usually the things that YouTube works with to kind of help push our videos. And at the moment, our videos really aren't being pushed with the Championship, maybe just because we're very new to obviously doing the Championship this season. So when I say this, I really do mean it. If you can hit that like button for me, if you are enjoying the video, please do so. And why not subscribe if you haven't done so already? It is free, and I am being so genuine when I say it really does help the channel so much. That's enough of me pleading with you guys. So let's get back to the video. Let's move on to Cardiff now, who take on Bristol City. And they're not too far away, are they, in a location basis, actually, Bristol and Cardiff. And I'll be honest, I don't think it's classed as a derby. Is there a bit of anything? Guys, if you are a Cardiff or Bristol City fan, do let me know, actually, because from a location point of view, suppose you're one of each other's closest teams in some ways. Obviously out on the west coast, nearly said east then, which obviously would have been wrong. But I do have to say, looking at the actual football basis of it, Cardiff look really good at the moment. Up to obviously climbing up the table 4-0. They've regained their form, obviously, which is really important after going 3 without a win. And before that, they were playing some really good football. So that could be a real turning point. Bristol City obviously weren't victorious in midweek, but they did lose to an Ipswich side where, let's face it, a lot of teams are losing to this Ipswich side. And it does have to be said, they looked very competitive in it. I've only been able to really watch a little bit of a few highlights and the stats, but what I will say is that the stats do say that it looks a very, very even game in this one. So I think this one could go either way. I'm going to back the home team marginally, and I'm going to go for my favourite scoreline. You'll know it if you watched before. I'm going to go for a 2-1 scoreline. I think that's my first 2-1 of the video, but unlikely. Usually love that scoreline. Let's move on to Middlesbrough now, who take on Stoke City. And this one is a really hard one to call, because this is 2 teams which might be on the up. Middlesbrough, of course, they've just really, really just changed things around. And I just think Michael Carrick is doing an absolute superb job with this team, I'll be honest. I still think this team doesn't look anywhere near as good as the one from last season, if I'm being completely honest. But I probably did think they were a little bit more, awful than they actually are. I think they are probably a pretty decent team, but I do think you've got to look at the manager and everything that he's doing with them. But they've got some good players. Greenwood, I want to give a shout out to, was obviously on loan from Leeds. You do wonder if Leeds, are they perhaps looking at him and gone, you know what, we could have done with him, actually. But the important thing is this Middlesbrough team are turning things around. And of course, you've got a Stoke team who will potentially are turning things around as well. Of course, in the last 2 games, wins against Sunderland and Leeds. And albeit you do look at the Leeds, it obviously went down as an own goal. But I don't think that matters. I think the main thing is that Stoke are getting points now. It might take a bit of pressure off the manager. And on top of that as well, this is a very good Stoke team. It'll be interesting to see if they can start reaching their potential of what, they really can do. I think, as I say, this is 2 teams that will be feeling quite confident, and I am going to share the scoreline. I'm going to go 1-1 in this one. I have a feeling this one will be a draw. Let's move on to Blackburn now, who take on Swansea. This is a tough one to call, isn't it? It could go either way. I don't know, to be honest, guys. Obviously, both have goal scorers that could win it for them. Both have been a bit inconsistent at times. Both have shown what they can do at times, and that they've got a really good team. So this is one of these games for me. It depends which version of which team turns up, and that's probably the team that will win it. Whichever team turns up as the better version of themselves on the day. I am going to give it to one of the teams. Let's go with Blackburn. Let's go 1-0. I'm going to go 1-0 Blackburn. I don't want to call another draw. Guys, no surprise. I'm not going to call a draw in this one. Is there any point diving into this one massively? I don't want to be disrespectful, but Leicester City look absolutely unreal. QPR look absolutely rubbish at the moment. So I do think Leicester win this. I think they'll win it comfortably. And I'm going to say 3-0 and just move on. There's no point talking about it anymore, is there, to be honest? I'll just be rambling. Let's move on to Ipswich, who take on Plymouth now. And look, Ipswich are going to be the heavy favourites in this, but Plymouth, another big home, albeit home result again at midweek, and it was against Sheffield Wednesday, but even so, 3-0, that'll give them some confidence, and maybe they will start looking to push on a little bit more on the road, but it's not going to be easy to do it, is it? I mean, to be honest as well, it's a bit of a far distance travel. I don't imagine it'll be the furthest way to travel, but Ipswich to Plymouth to Ipswich is not a small amount to travel, is it really? And you do think Ipswich, they look really good, don't they? And I do think Ipswich will get the win, especially being at home. I'm going to go 3-1 to Ipswich in this one. Let's move on to speak about Watford now, who take on Millwall. And obviously, Watford won in midweek. They'd kept their manager, didn't they? They were loyal to him, and they've got 7 points within the last 3 games, which is obviously very telling. Maybe shows Watford that maybe they should keep their managers more, because even I was saying I don't understand why they've extended this guy's contract, because he was doing absolutely awful. But maybe they're starting to build up a little bit of a run now. I don't know with both these teams. I think we're looking at 2 probably mid-table teams. I think that's fair to say. I don't see either pushing on to the playoffs this season, and I don't see either of them going down in this game, guys. I'm going to share the points. I'm going to go 1-1. I think I've called a few draws in this one. Let's move on to speak about Sheffield Wednesday now, who will be desperate to get a result against Rotherham. It'll be a result that they very much need, but I did say with Rotherham, they were one of my favourites to go down at the start of the season. I might have even put them like rock bottom, but in my latest championship predictions, when they updated them, I said I think Rotherham stay up, and they are showing some signs of that. A very good result against Coventry, and you know, albeit that go back to last weekend, the ground was pretty much rained off because of just a torrential storm. You know, they were back at home, picked up a good result against in Coventry, and fair play to them. I do think this is a team that has some class and some talent. I'm not convinced I could say the same about Sheffield Wednesday. The one positive thing I can say about Wednesday is their fans. They're still turning up. They're still getting behind the team. You know, and it's just a real shame that's what's happening with this club. But at the moment, I can't look past Rotherham. I've got to be honest, guys. I'm going to give it Rotherham, and I'm going to go 2-0. Go 2-0. Let's move on to speak about Coventry next, who take on West Brom. And obviously, I just referenced them because they did lose to Rotherham in midweek. And this is 2 teams similar to the Blackburn Swansea game, really. It depends which team turns up or which version of the team turns up, because albeit these 2 teams that have showed some talent at times and have showed an ability to win. But at the same time, sometimes I watch them and watch their highlights on, you know, especially the Football League show. I think, God, they looked all right last week, but now they look absolutely dreadful. And it's been a bit of a rocky season for both, really. I do think maybe West Brom are probably feeling a bit more upbeat at the moment, and maybe have turned a little bit more of a corner than Coventry. But this could go either way. This is one of these that, well, I suppose the Championship in general can go either way. But I'm going to go West Brom. I'm going to back West Brom marginally. I'm going to go 2-1 to West Brom. And guys, that is the Championship predictions for this week. I didn't realise I'd covered all 12 games then. Hopefully you have enjoyed them. And as I did say in the video, if you can do me a favour, hit that like button, and please do subscribe as well. that would be massively appreciated. Thanks, guys. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next predictions. Take care. Goodbye.